Okay, everyone, you can hear me okay? In the back and all that? All right, before we get started, I'd like everyone to take a moment of silence to honor a fallen warrior, and Sean McBrearty. He spoke at our first conference. Okay, good morning and welcome to the Second Natural Law Conference. My name is Brandon Hayes. I'm the president of the Natural Law Institute. I'm going to first explain how I see my role at the Institute. Then I'm going to explain a bit about the Institute's mission. And then I'm going to inform you on what you've gotten yourself into for this conference moving forward. I know, I don't do microphones and professionalism. That's for the people who are going to present to you. I'm not an academic or a presenter. What I do mostly is track and organize and synthesize thinkers across the media and intellectual landscape. I sort for lawful participants to organize into groups to create the outcomes we'd like to see in the world. I use regular networking skills, calling and emailing and so on, and I also use social media. I create local groups and I insert the truth, and then I see if people resist or adapt to it. The people who adapt to it, I recruit for us. So I spend a lot of time presenting people with uncomfortable truths. And the way you handle uncomfortable truths, the way you handle stress, the way you handle the things that upset you are the important things about you when it comes to dealing with a conflict, which is what we are all in. So in dealing in that conflict, I need people who are able to deal with stressors that are beyond normal day stressors. I was a wrestling coach and a dog trainer. So I train in and teach aggression. So through this transformation, people have to realize that we are under attack, and what we want them to do is build an indignation about what's happening to them. I'm not a pill peddler. I don't do the red pill, black pill stuff. If I peddled pills, they'd be white, right? Bright white, and they'd make a fire burn in your belly. I'm not a salesperson. I don't sell the law. It's not something that's for sale. In fact, if it is for sale, you're a criminal. My people aren't actors. We don't run scripts, right? We train agents. We train agents into agency, and quite frankly, we're the only agents that are worthwhile. I've lovingly coined the Institute the No Lies Institute. Our mission at the Institute is to install the natural law. That's the law of reciprocity. We want to install that law everywhere where people will come into contact and come into disputes with one another, which is everywhere. The law is something that you need to integrate into your being. Understanding it requires a participatory knowledge. You have to be able to intuit and have an instinct for following through with what is moral in your life. We have reduced all of what the law comes down to a moral calculation that any individual can do at any time they'd like to. We understand obvious truths about how things manifest today. For instance, your political arena is fraught with the worst people who have ever existed. The left present as outlaws. They should be placed outside the protection and the consideration of the law as such. Your Republican Party are those criminals who negotiate with the outlaws to pilfer you all. This is a crime that cannot go unpunished. We understand that the letter of the law oughtn't be used to undermine the color of it, that the color and the letter of the law are something that need to come into congruence, that should be coherent, where you can't misapply the law or deviate from an optimum. We have a very serious problem with common people because they conflate fragility, vulnerability, and weakness with innocence. And the former three are nothing to persist. Fragilities need to be removed. You need to make robust or resilient your people and their institutions, their organizations. Vulnerabilities are things to protect. Weakness is something to train away. In order to create the persistence we'd like to see, we have to instill this information in everybody. We offer the largest leap in scientific understanding, cognitive operation, and cooperative endeavor since Darwin. I suspect that what we're offering people will be resisted, but the beauty of the integration of the social sciences is, one, it's the science you should master by 12. And there are closer to 12 people that have mastered it than saturating the market of 12-year-olds. And realizing that you should have mastered it by 12 and you haven't, you've been missing the means to make optimal calculations in your life. It's something that was taken from you. I had to unlearn everything that I learned in school, everything that I learned in college, all the things that the television indoctrinated people into. You have to unlearn those things. That unlearning process is painful. This event, this weekend, we are going to present the present crisis in historical context. How did we get here? How did it get this bad? We will explain sex, ethnic, and civilizational differences. All groups, that's women as such, Google members as such, all groups have instincts and intuitions on how to handle conflict, its resolution, or its avoidance. And that we are integrating people with unlike instincts and intuitions into institutions that they are unfit for. We are going to highlight and explain the pathological feminine as means of warfare, where the physical combatants are called in, they are rallied by those who claim or purport victimization or oppression. And you pit your able physical agents against one another, leaving only weak people behind. We're going to discuss total war and the devolution of war into the war of all against all. Europeans, the West, we domesticated war. We raised it to a level of noble pursuit. We excluded the innocent from the endeavor. We lined up against one another as kings and warriors, and you looked each other in the face. This was the means we used to settle disputes in the most civilized fashion possible. We had civilizations in the past. Now we have cities that present as cancers. And there are two sides that make that argument. It is not people. It's their poor organization and their means of extraction as opposed to production. We're starting to attempt to integrate people who have not gone through the pressure cooker in history to produce the necessary intuitions to get along with us. They're struggling in Europe right now. I deal with people who work in policy and education, and they are restructuring the education to deal with the influx of people who are coming from places traumatized and poor and harmed. Most importantly, we are going to teach you how to win this war. We're going to teach you how to recognize irreciprocities. We'll teach you to equilibrate those irreciprocities with swiftness and tact. And almost as importantly, we're going to teach you what to do after winning. That's codify, strictly construct your law so that your traditions, norms, families, and genetics can't be undermined or subverted in the future. Reality is deterministic, not determined. We teach the science of decidability. You have choice. The accumulation of those choices through time, that is a representation of your will. That is a representation of the people's will, if it's a collective. You choose whether that will is good or not. You choose. We posit that you ought to choose the just and narrow path, because the only way to is through. My people, these fellows, they have brightly illuminated that path. They teach you to recognize those who deviate from it. They give you the moral license to lay low those who obstruct your way forward upon that path. Slow justice is injustice. True justice is swift. The wheels of justice turning slowly means the mechanism of justice is broken. Lady Justice is blind because she stands in the light of the truth. And she knows that that truth is enough. Thank you.